Hey guys, it's Chris. From tribal warriors defending their property to putting them at risk for illnesses, here's why you should never fly over this ancient tribe in the Amazon. Number 8. The Inciting Incident. To truly understand what's going on here, you need to take a look at this. Yes, this is a plane that appears to be pelted with all sorts of arrows. But how did it get into this condition? According to the person on Reddit who reported it, they were doing a low run above the Amazon rainforest and were suddenly besieged by tribal warriors who tried to strike the plane down with their arrows. Not the best thing to happen to you while you're flying around. The pilot was all right, but it raised a lot of questions about who really lives in that rainforest. Now, at first, it may seem odd that there are people living in the Amazon at all. Animals? Well, yeah, sure, but humans? That's a tricky place to traverse, even for modern humans with all of our technology. And yet, scientists and researchers have noted that there are indeed many tribes within the Amazon that have not only lived there for a long time, but also have never had true contact with a modern human. Which brings us back to the plane, because if you had no idea about modern culture and you saw that thing flying above you, I mean, wouldn't you fire on it? I would, yeah. So given what happened to this plane, another question must be asked. What else has happened when people tried to communicate with these ancient tribes? Number 7. The 2008 Incident. For those who think that what happened to the plane I just showed you was a singular incident, well, you'd be wrong. A 2008 plane had a similar battle. They were flying over the Amazon in a specific section, and all of a sudden they saw this. Yep, a trio of tribal warriors was aiming to hurt the plane. Another shot was taken and showed that there was indeed a whole tribe of these people, and just as curious, they were painted scarlet from head to toe, with the women painted black. For those wondering why someone would risk taking these photos when they were in clear danger, it was proof of life. We did the overflight to show their houses, to show they're there, to show they exist, said Brazilian Uncontacted Tribes expert Jose Carlos dos Reis Mireles Jr. This is very important because there are some who doubt their existence. This is a key fact because apparently this tribe and more are going to be seen a lot more if certain factors on our side are maintained. Logging is driving uncontacted tribes over the border and could lead to conflict with the estimated 500 uncontacted Indians already living on the Brazilian side. What is happening in this region of Peru is a monumental crime against the natural world, the tribes, the fauna, and is further testimony to the complete irrationality with which we, the civilized ones, treat the world, says Mireles. Number 6. The dangers of nonbelief. I just told you about one of the big reasons why people like Jose are trying to prove the existence of these tribes, but it goes beyond just chopping down the areas that they live in. You see, there are multiple groups across many different sections of life that don't want to believe these tribes exist, or just as bad, they don't want to care about their rights or protected lands. The biggest one is obviously the corporations, who've gone above and beyond the call in the worst way possible to go and destroy lands of native tribes in the name of business and profit. That happens not just in the Amazon, but in places like the United States, where the border wall was deemed so necessary that sacred tribal and burial grounds of the Native American tribes were blasted, ransacked, and run over. The other problem here is the notion that because they're not modernized, that we have a duty to go and bring them into the fold. This is a belief held by many religious groups who feel they need to be taught the truth. But who are we to do that to them? And aren't we supposed to be a world that is accepting of most religions? Truly, the oddest bit of all, though, is that some groups state that it's these tribes that are the danger to the Amazon rainforest versus what big business is doing. And this is ludicrous because these tribes have lived off the land for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and seem to have done no great damage to it. So, as you can see, knowing these tribes and understanding them to at least a small degree can help not just keep us safe from them, but also keep them safe from us. Number 5. The disease issue. There's another key reason why it's honestly very important to go and stay away from these uncontacted tribes, and that's disease. Think about it like this. Imagine you were born on a small island. You lived on that island and lived off of it with your family and only used what the land and water provided you in order to live. It would be a simple life, but you could make it work. Now imagine that one day a ship arrives and people come onto your island. You've never seen people like them before, but you try and communicate with them. They eventually leave, and not long afterward, you get sick. How is that possible? Well, because you were exposed to people who have gone through more than you and have prepared their bodies for various kinds of sicknesses and diseases, and you haven't due to you living on that island. This applies to the tribes in the Amazon as well as other tribes all over the world. Their bodies are more or less accustomed to what's around them, including the germs. But the world at large has a lot more diseases that people get vaccinated for and attempt to prevent. Yet if we go and expose ourselves to these people or try to force them into our society, we risk them getting wiped out by diseases that their body isn't prepared to fight. This was a big thing that happened with the Europeans who came to the Americas. They infected the native tribes, and diseases spread and wiped out entire villages before the Europeans even knew they were there. Columbus was said to have brought many diseases to the tribes he visited and got them so sick that whole scores of them were just wiped out. Just read the book The Mosquito. It's pretty terrifying and talks a lot about these issues. So as you can see, this is a very dangerous thing to try and mess with, which is why many are fighting so hard to try and keep these indigenous people safe and away from us. Number 4. Yanomami. If you're looking for another native tribe that has caused some stirs in terms of them being found, you need look no further than the Yanomami tribe. They are on the Brazilian side of the Venezuelan border, and when a picture of them was taken by helicopter, you can see just how shocked they were to see anything flying above them. Further research into the Yanomami tribe has revealed some interesting things, like how they live in communal houses where many families come together to eat, interact, do clothes, and more. However, as you might expect, they aren't always the kindest people. Rather, they're incredibly violent and are known to get into fights with other tribes that usually end badly. As for how many of them are in these rainforests, there are essentially between 22,000 and 35,000, so it's a really large tribe. And they live in massive groups that appear to know all about each other, but not the outside world. And that does raise a certain question, though. Number 3. How many uncontacted tribes are there in the world right now? This is a good question, and one that's been asked by many over the years. Based on our conservative estimates, it's believed that there are about 100 tribes out there that haven't been contacted by the outside world for one reason or another. Some live in dense jungles like the Amazon. Some live on remote islands that most people assumed were uninhabited, but very much were. Now, to be clear, just because they haven't been contacted by us doesn't mean they think they're alone in the world. In fact, it's possible they know about other tribes of people and may have even seen remnants of the world via planes, boats, and other things. They just choose to remain where they are and not interact with anyone outside of their main tribe, and maybe certain allies that they can reach. But that in turn raises another question, doesn't it? Why would they do that? Number 2, why not reach out on their own? Given the world we live in right now, communication has never been easier. Between cell phones, the internet, social media, and so on, it's not hard to go and communicate with other people. So at first, it may seem very odd that these uncontacted tribes would want to stay away from the modern world and just remain on their islands. But if you look beyond the shock factor of it all, you'll find a certain hidden truth that is oh so obvious. Why on earth would they want to reach out to us if they don't know what to expect from us? Didn't think of that question, did you? The truth is, when it comes to people who live in a certain way, and those who live in another way, you never know what to expect from them, or even how they'll react to your presence. This has been the basis of many wars over the course of human history. Fear what you don't know, and the weaker group gets exterminated. The ones with the best weapons and germs on their side will win. And think about it from the uncontacted tribes' perspective. They went from thinking they were a small part of the world to then seeing massive entities in the sky that they can't even describe in their modern tongue. Would you want to reach out to a people that had things like that and could possibly wipe you out without much issue? Yeah, exactly. So in their minds, it's probably easier to just hunker down instead of reaching out, because it could be deadly. Then everyone would know where they are and they could attack them. And in Brazil, it's actually a huge problem, with miners and loggers actually killing tribespeople for the land. And the government has been extremely criticized for not protecting the indigenous people. It's also a good explanation for why they might attack anyone who comes close to them, because they don't want to give us the chance to strike first. If anyone is lurking around their territory, it's never for a good reason. Number 1, the world is still very much unexplored. In conclusion, you might be surprised that there are so many undiscovered tribes out there in the world right now. But the honest reason for this is that the world is not as fully explored as you might expect. Yes, we know the outlines of the continents, countries, and more, but when it comes to the in-depth details of places like the Amazon rainforest, for example, we still have a lot to explore. Many parts of Africa, India, Australia, Papua New Guinea, and more also haven't been fully explored. And within each of these places are uncontacted tribes that roam and try to keep the modern world out mostly for their survival. So should you be unfortunate enough to find one of these tribes, don't contact them. They're more than likely to strike first, and ask questions never. Thanks for watching. What did you think of this look at this ancient tribe from the Amazon that you really don't want to meet if you're in that area? What did you find the most fascinating about this particular tribe? Did you know that they existed before watching this video? How many more tribes like this do you think are out there in the world? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to World List, and I'll see you next time on the channel.